All right, what is up, guys? VV back with another video. Excuse me. And today we're going to be talking about Rebecca again. I know a lot of people were excited about the Rebecca video I posted recently. A lot of people talking about going to Knoxville, which I wish I could go, guys. I really wish I could go to that. I cannot. But we do need to talk about some things that some information I've come across, or really an experience I've come across playtesting the deck at locals. So last night I went up to one of the local card shops and played against a bunch of decks, a bunch of different decks, like Crocodile, what's his name, Katakuri, even Rebecca, Mirror Match, and even a Blurple Kaido. I don't expect there to be a lot of Blurple Kaidos out there, but anyway, it's the point. And I even played against Zoro. But the thing is this. I'm going to tell y'all this right now, guys. We're in a little... After the experience I just had, if we don't expect to see a majority of red decks at Knoxville, you might need to make some revisions to the deck. And don't worry, I do have some revisions we're going to talk about in a minute. But if you expect to see a bunch of red decks like Whitebeard, Zoro, maybe Luffy or something like that, then the list is pretty much fine as is, as long as you can pilot it well and your opponent doesn't just get insane draws. You know how that goes. The deck's pretty well catered to dealing with the red decks. It's pretty well catered for that. However, when I built this deck, it was more geared towards competition. And I guess the scene that I follow quite a bit is in the East. And even in the West, remember, red was doing very well. However, remember, in the East, sorry, I know I'm going back and forth, over in Japan, let me say it like that. In Japan, they never had restrictions on the red decks. Now, over in where we are in the West, yes, there were restrictions, but red was still dominant enough to pull off a lot of, to pull off wins regardless. However, I do think that now those restrictions that we saw back in OP03 in the West, they're going to have caught up a little bit, where I don't actually expect to see as many Whitebeard and Zoro decks. Maybe Zoro. Zoro might be the exception, but I don't expect to see as many Whitebeard decks in OP04 in the West. I could be wrong. I have no insider information on that. That's just pure intuition I'm speaking on there. But from what I played last night, I have to say, we're going to look at 2 or 3 decks that are definitely competitors. Like, I think they will do well in competition. So this is the list that I've been showing. This is the list that I stand by as being a very strong Rebecca list, but only a strong Rebecca list in a format that is balanced. Let me say it like that. Because we're going to look at some lists right now that just are not going to be punished for just playing very, how do I say it? Very slow mid-rangey plays, or very slow mid-range pulls. But this deck I do stand by as being a good deck, and then you can adjust it according to what you expect to see, and we will adjust it. However, let's go ahead and look at some of the decks I was talking about. First up is Katakuri. So Katakuri, and probably technically Big Mom as well, but more specifically Katakuri, it's a little more aggressive. This list you're seeing, this is not like... This is not the exact list I played against last night. I played against my good buddy Joey over at the Heart Pirates TCG on his YouTube. Go check him out at Heart Pirates TCG. I played against him last night, and he was piloting a deck very similar to this. It was not this exact list. I don't believe. Maybe it was. I don't know, but I don't think it was. But man, I'll tell you what. If you do not draw your removal in time, this matchup feels absolutely horrible. And it's going to make us really, really, really consider dropping these 3,000 worlds and putting in red rocks. I'm just being straight up with you guys. I'm being completely straightforward with you. The Kuzan was not fast enough against these decks, because if they go Charlotte Linlin, we don't have the chance to play Kuzan. Now, yes, technically, if we go first, or well, excuse me, rather second, if we get to 10 Dawn first, and we get to drop down Kuzan, then we probably have a chance. And that's a whole nother thing I wish I had time to make a video for, is how to deal with each matchup as Rebecca. but we got to deal with the time we have. We got to do the best we can with the time we have. This card is absolutely toxic against us. It starts eating our life up. It counters the fact that we're countering early so that we have a strong late game and we could take big hits late game and make your blockers survive longer, get more value out of them. And it eats up our life cards and gains them additional life cards where it's like, okay, what normally would be an OTK or a 2-turn, quote unquote OTK. I know what it means, but y'all know what I'm saying. Now it ends up being like a 3 or 4 turn OTK, and we just gave them 5 or 6 cards more. Excuse me, and access to 5 or 6 more triggers. Like it just ends up being so counter productive. It's just a total counter to what we're doing as Rebecca. The Katakuri doesn't matter as much, but it is a nuisance because he can just push our Luffy's back, push our Sabos back, what you name it, it doesn't matter. Charlotte Linlin, the 7 drop, is actually a nuisance as well because you don't want to lose a life, but you give them a life, and again, you're giving them access to more triggers. Sanji's just a good blocker. We know what he does. But these guys in particular, Randolph, Perospero, these vanilla bodies, if they stick, they're very frustrating to deal with. And then you're dedicating a whole turn to dealing with them. Okay. It just is what it is. And if you can't get cards into your trash fast enough, this Perospero actually is hard to deal with. It's I don't want to say it's hard to deal with. We have answers through Orlumbus. We have answers. But again, that's assuming you're going to keep that Orlumbus on the board, right? And yeah, they don't have a ton of cards to remove it, but they do have some. Thunderbolt is actually a card they're going to use against us, right? Because you have to understand, Thunderbolt against us, we're not attacking life like an aggro deck. So this card is actually just a pay 2 KO spell, or KO event rather, and they don't care about trashing the life. It means literally nothing, because they're not on a clock against us. They're just setting up full on board control, bouncing the big stuff with their Katakuris, KOing stuff with their Thunderbolts, and yeah, that's pretty much how that works. And they run 4 puddings because they can search, I think 90% of the cards in here. They can't get the Mermaid. They can't get... they can get Sanji. They can get Sanji. And she's Big Mom as well. So, yeah, and Beige. I was going to say, I know there's one more. Beige is the other card they cannot snatch, or snag, however you want to say it, with Pudding. Because remember, guys, she can grab Sanji. So she can get this Sanji, even though it's a Vinsmoke family. And it can get this Sanji, even though it's a Vinsmoke family. It doesn't matter. They can still grab that. So this deck is a serious problem, and we're going to talk about how to deal with that in a second. So keep that in your mind. And if you have any advice on what to do against these for players who are reading the comment section, please help us out, guys. Right? Like this is a team effort. Like, yeah, I might be the one making these videos, but I make these videos so we can talk about it, brainstorm. Because let me tell y'all right now, I got absolutely destroyed last night by these decks I'm putting on the screen. Crocodile and Katakuri just felt like almost useless against. Maybe it's just me working out the kinks because I didn't do any playtesting against these 2 decks. I'm just going to be honest. Like, yeah, I playtested a lot of red, and even some yellow, not a lot, but nothing like the list we were just looking at, and nothing like this list. So this is the other one I wanted to talk about, and this one should be completely self-explanatory. So where the Katakuri deck was really strong with its curve, like how it tempos out, it's a very solid mid-range deck. Crocodile is just going to remove everything you play. It's the opposite, right? Well, I don't want to say it's the opposite, but it's not the same as Katakuri. It deals with Rebecca in another way. It deals with Rebecca in a way that shouldn't really be a thing, but it is. Because what Crocodile does is he can bounce cards with his activate main, which they won't do that early on. But early on, we don't have too many threats. We only have something like a Kairos that they have to worry about, or an Orlumbus, right? Okay, well, they're just going to bounce that with this, or even this. Technically, I don't think they would waste it on Orlumbus, but you get my point. They've got Kaido. They've got all these cards to keep pushing us back. And they have a very decent blocker engine with Sentamaru. Go ahead and read this card if you don't know what it does. But it's allowing you to sift through your deck and set up these really nice blockers or just beaters. Right? It just runs a nice little 4, 8, 10, a little 10 card engine that has support from this Bartholomew Kuma as well. So it's a little 14 card engine that just it gets the job done. What else? It's got some decent counter power in Demolition Breath, which is going to bottom deck all of your 1-drops, like your Rebecca that you were going to use to, you know, take out one of their characters by, you know, how do I say this? You got to be really careful when you swing against this deck. Like if you're trying to KO a character by swinging first, because they might counter with this and now bottom deck your Leo or your Kaya or your Suru or your whatever else you had on the board. Now Kaya and Suru wouldn't be as important, but Rebecca and Leo, yeah, that's a problem if they get rid of that, right? Because we were going to use that to do whatever. And then it also has the trigger to bounce a 6 or less. That's going to hit Sabo. That's going to hit Orlumbus. That's going to... Now, yeah, they might not want to bounce Sabo, but that's not exactly a bad play because they know they're not on a clock against us. Again, anything that gets bounced back to hand is not ideal for us. I mean, technically it can be sometimes, but y'all know what I'm saying. And then, of course, they have Red Rock. So, okay, you played Sabo. Well, Sabo's going to get hit by this or Red Rock or Mihawk or Sogeking or Kaido. So it's just whatever, and even their leader's effect can hit Sabo, right? But then, like, okay, you play a Luffy, right? That's one of our bigger cards. Okay, well, Mihawk takes care of that. Red Rock takes care of that. You know, they just have so many answers. Now, yes, if the game goes on long enough, we can get the cards back. It does happen, especially running Dofi. It lets us push cards to the top of our deck faster. But it's something about Kaido right now, guys, and Big Mom. Those are the two monsters of this format. If they get down to 10 cost Big Mom on you, or if they get down to 10 cost Kaido, and you did not get your Kuzan down first, you are in trouble. Trust me when I say that. I'm not saying you're auto going to lose, but your chances of winning probably just went down by like 50%. You see what I'm saying? Like, you really have to have a one-card answer to this. It's not good enough to be able to go, okay, well, let me play an Orlumbus that they bounced last turn from the Kaido, right? Let me play my Orlumbus and then play out another card from hand, like a Leo, a Leo or Rebecca, just to KO it so that I can Truno Bastardo it. That's like too much. You're asking for too much. And then whatever else they have on the board. Because the turn prior, they probably dropped a Sogeking, or they probably dropped a Mihawk, or they dropped, you know, it all depends on what's going on. But I'm only telling y'all about these matchups, guys, so that y'all are prepared and you don't get caught off guard. That's why I love doing play testing at local, you know, at little local tournaments and stuff. It's a big deal to see what's coming out. This deck at least felt like it was manageable. Like I probably could have beaten it with a few adjustments that I'm going to make. I think I could have beaten this deck. However, like I said, the Katakuri deck it felt like I was playing against an aggro deck. Maybe the person I played against just got an insane pull, right? It's possible, and maybe I got a bad pull, or both. But it felt like just whatever I played, there's an answer, and they're just playing these huge bodies the entire time. Okay, and then lastly for these decks, we got to talk about Queen. I did not play against a Queen yet, but this has the same exact answers that we've just seen. It's got the Katakuris, the bounce stuff. It's got KO in the form of Yamato, which we're not as scared of, right? Because we can get around a lot of KO effects with Sabo and with Kairos. But still, it is worth talking about. In fact, against us, this card probably can KO Luffy. Okay? Because we're not going to be swinging at life very much. And at the same time, they might decide to stop when we're at 2 life. And they're at 5, so that they can always get the easy KO on Luffy. You see what I'm saying? Stuff like that. They have the Sogekings. They have the Katakuris, like I said. They have the Red Rocks. They have the Mihawks. And I think Sunless... No, never mind. I was going to say Sunless run Kaido. They do not, because it doesn't go with the Queen's effect. So, again, I don't feel as pressured against this deck as I do against the other two, but it is still going to be very, very annoying to play against these decks, and it's going to force some matches probably to go to time, right? Like that is a real thing, right? Going to time. So when you're playing against this, I hope you did a lot of practice on like just playing very quickly, playing efficiently but quickly. Okay, so real quick, let me also go over the West real quick before I go over my setup. So these are I only picked decks. Let me show you all of them. Like this was a huge 100-person. This is at Fukuoka, however you say that. A big Bandai tournament. Same thing with this one here in HECS, whatever that means. And then the same idea with this one. This one was not a... This list went 9-0, so it's worth talking about. So first one, this one's up first. Over in the East, remember, they had access to a lot of the stuff there was no restriction in the East on the red cards. So a lot of the format was red. And this deck was catered to knowing that, okay, I'll be going against a lot of red decks, right? And I don't think they played against many Katakuris or Crocodiles over in the East. I think we will in the West, though, guys. I'm just trying to give you a warning. I might be wrong, but I do think those restrictions have caught up to where I don't know if Whitebeard can compete against the current format with those restrictions in place. Zoro probably still can, but as you could imagine, these decks don't exactly care about Zoro as much, as some decks might. Because they do have a lot of counters, ways to gain life, ways to block, ways to get life triggers, ways to bounce, obviously, you name it. So again, what we're looking at here was geared towards the East and red decks. So you're going to see it's a very similar list to what I'm running, because I got a lot of, inspiration from these decks. They were out before. Now 4 berries I think is a little bit crazy, but hey, this guy got first place, right? It is what it is. It clearly works, right? 4 Luffys. But did you notice something's missing from this list? A certain stage card? That's right. No Corda Coliseum. So keep that in mind. That might be a change we have to make at some point, is maybe dropping Corda Coliseums. And this list strangely ran 4 Kuzan. Okay? So that's not out of the question, even though there's no trigger. There's no, not trigger, counter on the side. That is something we're going to have to consider. 4 Kairos. It's got 4 Luffys. Now, you're going to see 4 Leos a lot of times because Leo can KO a 1 or less. That was very effective against Zoro, right, where we can take out their early cards. So keep this in mind. It takes out early cards, and it puts a body down for us to deal with, or for us to activate cards like Orlumbus. Here he is. And you get -4 to their bigger cards, so we can take them out with Kairos, right? Kuzan also helps with that because, right, we can attack and -4 the cost. Or they have to waste removal. Or they have to waste removal on getting him off the board. Also, there's no Rebecca in this list, right? That makes sense to me. I know some people might think that's kind of crazy. But remember, you're getting a Rebecca effect every single turn off your leader's effect. I do like the idea of going down Rebecca. I do like that idea. But the thing is, the one thing that Rebecca offers that makes me still include her at least as like a 2 or a 3 of usually is, guess what? She's a body. So when she goes on the board, we can KO her with Orlumbus to -4 somebody, or if we really need to, we can King Kong Gun to maybe go for lethal in some certain situations. It also helps fill up the trash for Truno Bastardo and Luffy and Barrier. It has all the synergy there. And by the way, this guy's running 4 King Kong Gun, 4 Truno Bastardo, and 4 Barrier. Very, very solid list here. Okay, now this was, I think, one of the earlier ones. This was in July 2nd. This next list is July 8th, and then the next list was in August. So you're seeing the list evolve to the format over in the East, okay? Now again, look, this guy's dropped out down to 1 Barrier. Still has the 4 Trunos. This person did run 2 Red Rocks, 4 Luffys, 4 Corda Coliseums, 4 Rebecca. Again, this probably has a lot to do with needing a body for Orlumbus. Idio, very solid as a blocker. We have the Kairos, we have the Bartolomeos. Now this guy is still running, I think the last list was running 12 2K counters as well. Wait, no, 2 +4 +4 +4, no, 14 2K counters on the first list. This second list has gone down to 12. 4 Gats, 4 Tashigi, 4 Bartolomeo. Doesn't run the Kaya, does not run the Suru, but runs Tashigi, which, if I'm not mistaken, in this matchup, they were running Tashigi literally as a -2 to the cost of your opponent's characters and a 4K body that now might still get her effect. Right? That's the beauty of Tashigi, is if I play her for 3, tap her down to use her effect to -2 something to KO it with one of my, like, Truno Bastardos, well, now they're probably going to attack it, right? So they can get it off the board. Well, great. Now it acted as my 2K counter as well as doing what else it did, and now it's in my trash, ready to be recycled later. So a lot of value in Tashigi. Idio is just a blocker, like I said. Orlumbus we talked about. Only 3 Sabos in this list. One thing I noticed in the East is, man, they are really okay with just dropping their Sabos in the trash. You know, just dumping them off in the trash whenever needed. And this guy's only even running 3. It's interesting. It's a great card. It has its purpose, especially when you need to establish blockers and make sure they don't get KO'd. And that seems like what they use Sabo for in the East the most. It's just pure utility. You know, and it's a blocker, of course, and 6K if it survives. So nothing else too crazy to talk about here. But again, I think these lists were made to go against other red decks. Not other, but to go against the Whitebeards, to go against the Zoros. And that's why we see like 4 Orlumbus. 4 Leo, excuse me. So, okay. And then the last one we'll look at from the East is this one. Again, we're seeing, now we're starting to see like where the deck ended up. They got rid of the Trino Bastardos, they got rid of the Red Rocks, and they're just running 3,000 Worlds. They're running 4 the Monkey D. Luffy's, 3 Corridas, 4 Leo, 4 Rebecca, 4 Kairos, 4 Sabo, 4 Gats. Kind of just 4 of every single card, to be honest. You notice that? And instead of going 4 and 2 or 4 and 2 the other way around, it's just 3 and 3 for these last 2. Everything else is a 4 of. This seems like a nice basic list, and it went 9-0. Like, this is like the just build it yourself Rebecca list, where it's just you don't put any thought into it, and you just play every single relevant Dressrosa card, and there you go. And then you just add whatever your favorite 2K counter is, and you're done. This is a strong list, but again, depends on what you think about going against. So real quick, so this was the list I was running, right? This is the list I started off with, went to the tournament. Now, yeah, I only played against blue and yellow decks. So the information I'm going off of is, if I were going to Knoxville, I would expect to go against a few blue and a few yellow decks. I think you're going to go against a few red as well. And by the way, y'all comment in the comment section below if you get a chance. What do you think the percentage is? Currently, I think the percent, like in my mind, intuitively, again, I think the percentage is going to be 30, 30, 30, 10. So that's 30% yellow, 30% blue, 30% red, and then 10% other. 10% other being like Doflamingo, Rebecca, a bunch of different things. All the other random decks out there, pretty much. Maybe law, some law decks and things like that. So that's something we gotta think about, guys. We gotta think about that. So moving forward, this is one list I came up with, and I even talked to Joey about. Me and Joey were just messaging each other on Discord earlier today, talking last night about it, and I was telling him I gotta go 4 Red Rocks after what I just experienced. And I dropped the Kuzan. Notice I dropped the Kuzan for a Mihawk, and I went up a Mihawk, well, up a Kuzan, but would have been, now it's up a Mihawk. Because guys, I'm telling you, nothing feels worse than when your opponent takes out your Orlumbus, or you don't draw an Orlumbus. I definitely did not get the best pulls last night, but no excuses. If I just had a Red Rock, well, then I just deal with what they have. So yeah, again, no excuses. And I think moving forward, I'm wondering about. Okay, well, it's going to depend. It depends on what we see in the format. Because if the format changes away from red, and if red becomes less dominant over here in the West, well, then I've got another list we're going to look at as well. But as an overall list, like as a well-rounded list ready to go to a tournament, these are the immediate changes I would make to my deck. If you were looking at the deck for Knoxville, these are the changes I would make. These Idios can still be placed out for Doflamingo. In fact, I probably would do that, to be completely honest. I would change out these 3 Idios and 1 Rebecca for 4 Doflamingos. Okay, just being 100% honest with y'all. I made this list just real quick to show that I'm going up Mihawks and Red Rocks. I should have put the, like I said, I would take out 3 Idios and 1 Rebecca and go up for Doflamingos. Because the Doflamingos were nice, guys. Of all the cards I tested, Kaya was hit or miss. Like, I mean, getting it early enough, it was fine. Using it as 2K counters, whatever. Tashigi might have just been a better card there, to be honest. Suru was nice, but Tashigi minuses 2, just like Suru does. And she doesn't just sit on the board. She's a 4K that can help swing later, or something they attack into, where she acts as a 4K as well, or as a 2K counter. But Doflamingo was nice, guys. Doflamingo was really, really nice. In fact, I think in the Rebecca matchup, There was a point where he put my Luffy on the bottom of my deck through a red rock or something. I don't remember what it was. I think it was red rock actually. And then I was like, okay, no problem. And I bounced it back up, 5 cards by bottom decking stuff with Dofi to get to it faster. That game went to time. My opponent did beat me, but it was one of those where I wish I could have gone first that matchup. I think things would have changed. And that was another one where just didn't get my coups on. Just did not ever draw it. It got trashed both times where I wish I could have got a Dofi to reveal it. But, it happens. Long story short, these are the changes I would make if I were going to a tournament now. It would go down here, down there, and then where's... let me just go straight to Doflamingo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. Full screen. So this is the changes I would make. You're still sitting on 35 Dressrosa, excuse me, Dressrosa characters, because remember, it counts the leader as a Dressrosa. So you have 35 Dressrosa, and then 15 other. But with Doflamingo, that allows you to fix a lot of problems. And guys, again, I can't stress enough, Red Rock, like I said, if you think there's going to be quite a bit of yellow and blue in the format, at Knoxville or in tournaments, wherever you're going, in locals, you name it, Red Rock's a must-have. I think it's a must-have. That's my personal opinion. And we'll see. I'm going to do more and more testing as time goes on. Okay, and then one more list I want to talk about. This is the direction I'm considering building the deck. And yeah, this is mad, right? This is insanity what you're looking at. This is a 50% Dressrosa list and a 50% just, get off me list, right? I mean, we're talking 2 Kaido, 3 Mihawk, 4 Red Rocks, 3 Zephs, 3 Sogi King. Just get out of my face deck, right? This is get out of my face deck, right? That's what this is. And a lot of cycle, by the way. It's got a lot of cycle cards with draw 2, trash 2 from Sabo, draw 2, trash 2 from Sogi King, got draw 2, trash 2 from Kaya, and we got the Doflamingo set at the top of our deck. And I think in a deck like this, if I have not tested this yet. Fair warning, I have not tested this, and a lot of my inspiration for this deck actually comes from the OP05 stuff in the East with Sakazuki. Blue-Black Sakazuki, I cannot wait for that deck. But anyway, right here, this is kind of the direction I'm feeling, where I need more ready answers. I need more readily available answers right away. Like, Zeph has good utility. We can bounce back our Doflamingo if we need to, or bounce back our Kaya, Suru, Bart, whatever, if we need to. But also, and let me just kind of zoom in on these so we can read them a little better if y'all need to see what they do. There we go. Then let me move that. There we go. If you're going to try this version of the deck, I definitely recommend being very sparing with Rebecca's effect. Like, maybe early on, just use it to your heart's content just to get cards into your trash. Because, again, who cares if you get cards in your trash, right? You are going to be able to recycle them with Luffy. And, we have ways of going through our list. But the main thing is we need bodies, guys. It seems like the format is shifting into a mid-range, tempo-driven format. And that's where we're seeing a lot of strength, guys. A lot of strength from some of these other, like, blue and yellow decks. And hey, my logic is we have access to the same blue cards as the other blue decks, so why don't we just fight fire with fire? Okay, guys, I just wanted to make sure I had a quick update. Well, it's like a 30-minute video. I just wanted to make sure you guys had an update video because I got some playtesting in, like I said, and it was rough last night. And again, I didn't play against any red decks like I expected. I played against straight blue decks and yellow decks, and maybe that's going to be a hint at what we're going to see at Knoxville. We'll see. I'm not sure. Again, maybe Zoro's going to take one away because it's the red deck wins deck of the format. But yeah. So, all right, guys. Y'all tell what y'all think in the comment section below. By all means, tell us about your experience so far in OP04. Have you done some testing? How has your experience been against yellow and blue? What do you recommend going into this? Outside of saying, oh, just swap decks. Like, don't say that, please, because, we're trying to make Rebecca work. I'm not giving up on Rebecca because I had a bad night. You know what I mean? That's not how I am. That's not me. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And as usual, if you have any questions, comments, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, peace.